You know what I reject? Do you know what I reject? I reject the view that somehow you have a higher moral authority on this matter than I do.
Our young people are looking at this and they're saying this is something that is right because the politicians, the leaders of our country, this is something that they do. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like for you to, first of all, apologize on the way you responded to the question. And secondly, allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish, please.
In this video, there was an open forum for the youth of Jamaica and the political leaders of Jamaica. And on the panel of discussion was the Prime Minister of Jamaica. The youth were bombarding the Prime Minister with questions and he lost his cool. He spoke in a very strong and harsh tone, and this did not sit well with one particular young man who was part of the audience. He was the second person to ask the Prime Minister a question, and he demanded that the Prime Minister render an apology to the audience and to the first person who asked the question. For a judgment on this as to whether this is right or wrong, I will leave you to be the judge. So let's watch the video together and get to see exactly what happened. So let's follow keenly so that we don't miss any of the details. So let's watch the video together.
Good night, everyone. My name is Daniel Thomas. I'm the president of the Love March movement, which is a youth organization, and we have an initiative called Colorblind, which is where we encourage young people to be engaged in political and national matters with an unbiased eye, without political assignment or, alignment rather. Okay, so my issue that I would like to raise at this time is with respect to needs. All right. Now, I am not, and we are not, against a national ID. We see the benefit of it. There are great pros. It will fill gaps in the country. But we believe that in its current form, it poses significant issues for many Jamaicans, especially with the fact that there has not been, in my opinion, and many other Jamaicans, 60,000, I checked the petition this morning, 60,000 Jamaicans here and abroad who feel that there needs to be more consultation, ventilation of the issues, speaking about pros and cons. All right, both of them are important to our consultative process. So we're being told that we must enroll in NIDS, or in the next 3 years we'll be possibly fined a max of $100,000 and barred from government services and possibly private services as well. The only exception being where there's a threat to health or life or a state of national emergency. Now, I'm deeply concerned about this bill because of the impact on the country.
So Charles, you have given us 2 points in the bill that you'd like responded to.
Well, I can't go into all of them, but just to say, right now I qualify for NHT.
Yes.
In 3 years, I will somehow lose my qualification because, somebody can respond to the NHT point, of course.
You're sure about that?
Well, that is my understanding because it won't be a threat to my life or health.
This is where you're going to come to get all the answers. All right, so allow them to respond now. Thanks, Charles. Really appreciate it.
We have over 60,000 Jamaicans.
So Charles, so you have to allow them to respond.
Me?
Yeah,
I'm Thomas, sorry.
I'm so sorry, Thomas. My apologies.
Can I just finish the last 2 lines here?
The last 2 lines?
Very quick.
2 points or lines?
2 lines. So my closing thought would be to withdraw the bill, allow for proper ventilation of the issues over a 3-month period even, town hall meetings and joint select committee where we can properly speak about the many, many issues that are in the bill. We're not against the bill, but we are for the country of Jamaica moving forward.
Thanks,
well,
Thomas.
I tell you
Excellent.
What, Thomas?
Thomas, yes.
I'm very happy that we find common ground, being that we are both for the country moving forward. But I just wanted to know, can you now get your NHT benefit without providing identification? I just wanted to know. And the answer is no. No, you can't. Secondly, and let's be clear,
Hang on, Thomas, you don't get a second chance. So sorry, you already asked.
You've asked your question.
No, you already asked.
Oh, it was
I'm
rhetorical.
sorry.
Okay, fine. Like many other things, it's rhetorical. Fine. Secondly, Thomas, do you know, how old are you, Thomas?
I am 26.
Do you know that this bill, this idea of creating a national registry, started from as early as 1970? And we have been discussing this national ID, morphed from having a birth certificate that's unique, starting with ID for voting, which by now most Jamaicans who don't intend to vote but who want some identification decides that, well, we will take the voter ID, but we won't vote. I'll give my fingerprint for the voter ID, but I don't vote. There are 1.8 million Jamaicans who want an ID, and they give their fingerprint willingly, including some of the 60,000 who signed the petition, answering personal questions, providing personal information, and freely giving of their biometric. The government has that now. What's new? You talk about consultation and speaking about this bill. In 2002, this bill was brought to the Parliament of Jamaica by the then Minister of Health, John Jr. It was tabled in Parliament and a joint select committee was named. It sat and languished and nothing happened. In 2009, former Prime Minister Bruce Golding saw that the bill was there, nothing is happening with it, started a resurrection of it. In 2012, former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller took the bill, and her very statements, this is a very important thing and we are going to push it, and started the negotiation for a loan to do this with the IDB. It was good for them to start the conversation about a $64 billion loan, but now it is not good. You know what I reject? Do you know what I reject? I reject the view that somehow you have a higher moral authority on this matter than I do. I am not here to create, and I make that point very seriously, because I am not here to create a system that is going to deprive Jamaicans of their freedom. And you know what else?
But the bill does.
I am not hiding from consultation. I am here facing the questions. Unlike most, I am facing the questions and answering them. And I will go to every church in Jamaica. I will go to every room, every house, and I will answer them. Because I am not trying to take away anybody's right.
Deal with the Prime Minister.
And I find that this discussion is disingenuous, unfair, and untruthful. And I will tell you, Jamaica, I am not going to hide from this. If you say that you are for Jamaica and that you agree that we should have a national civil registry, then let us talk as we are doing, but let us talk on the facts of the situation, not on the untruths and what we make up. Let us discuss the facts.
All right.
Okay, good night, everyone. My name is Glendon Martin. I am a student of the University of Technology. And I had a question, but the president had a similar question, so I'll allow him to ask the question. But what I have to say, well, I have a comment, actually. The gentleman that asked the question on NIDS, Mr. Prime Minister, I was taken aback by the way you responded to the question. I felt that you came across too strong, and when I was listening to you, while I was listening to you, I was saying, everybody, should I go and ask this gentleman a question? Will he answer me in the same tone that he answered the young man? And what I want to say and what I want to see in Jamaica or overall with politics is that our politicians behave sometimes, even in parliament, when you see them jumping over, arguing with each other. Our young people are looking at this and they're saying this is something that is right because the politicians, the leaders of our country, this is something that they do. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like for you to, first of all, apologize on the way you responded to the question. And secondly, allow me to finish, please. Allow me to finish, please.
So, my darling, hang on 1 second. Sir, hold on, everybody. 1 second. You know, the great thing about youth, hold on, the great thing about youth is that we see no boundaries at all. None at all. I think that you possibly could think hard on your comment and suggestion, really, in terms of the implications. I understand your feeling, but allow the Prime Minister to respond, though, since you have no quiet question. Allow the Prime Minister to respond.
Just one thing I need to add.
No, you've gone past your 30.
Well, just to what I was saying, that our country is seeing some...
Welcome back. So this is exactly what happened during the open forum between the Prime Minister and the youth of Jamaica. Just as I indicated early on, I will allow you to be the judge in this matter. So the first speaker was speaking about the national identification system they are trying to introduce in Jamaica. He says that they should hold on and allow for an in-depth analysis of the bill so as to be able to know the pros and the cons in order for them to be able to implement it effectively. Now, when the Prime Minister began to answer the question, I think he did not even speak about the pros and the cons of the bill. Rather, he gave a history as to how the bill was tabled some years back, and the bill has been sitting for quite very long. And I think some way, somehow, he feels or thinks that it is about time that the bill is being implemented and not to be waited on for quite too long. But his tone was a bit strong, it was a bit harsh, and he even stated that he has a problem that people or that someone in the audience thinks that he has a higher moral right on this issue. This is where there is a little bit of problem in his response. But as I said early on, I will leave you to be the judge. And the second person who came to ask a question actually decided to comment on how the president or the prime minister spoke to or answered the first speaker, that his tone was harsh and it was very strong for a response from a politician. And just as he also stated that he has observed that politicians in general nowadays, their behavior is something that the youth and the young ones are copying. So it should be very exemplary. And I think this is where he has a very strong point. I come from the country of Ghana, And similar incidents has happened about 2 years ago in our parliament, where there was an issue that they needed to vote on. And whilst they had to vote on this incident, the minority and the majority were in disagreement as to whether the speaker should vote or not on this matter. It was a very split decision that they had to take, and this resulted in chaos. And these members of parliament, we call them honorables, decided to engage in a fight. And this is something that is very appalling that we do not want to see happen in the years to come. So this young man calling it out is something that is very, very good. I think he has a point over there for pointing out the actions of politicians of nowadays, that they need to keep themselves in check because the youth are also learning from them. And exactly the same way that they are behaving, that is the same way that the youth and the young generations afterwards would also behave. Now let's watch the video that happened in the Parliament of Ghana, and we will talk more about it later.
A massive brawl broke out in the Ghanaian parliament on Tuesday following a dispute over a proposed tax on electronic transactions. Lawmakers from the two political divides harshly debated on the 1.75% on e-levy on all mobile transactions, a bill that was proposed last month. The opposition members of parliament said the proposed levy will affect people of lower income who extensively rely on mobile transactions for their daily lives. According to Ghanaian Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, the levy will widen the tax net and raise an additional $1.15 billion in 2022. A vote on whether to proceed with the urgency procedure was postponed to January 18.
Alright, so this is a video of how the fight erupted. This is a short video of it, of what happened in the Ghanaian parliament. So this young guy pointing out to this issue, I think it is very, very important that politicians check their attitude first of all, because young people in the country and the youth especially see them as role models and should be exemplary in their speech and in their actions. So let's continue watching the video and see how the Prime Minister reacts to this comment that came from this young man.
Improvement, and that is something I must commend your government on doing. But we want to see more and more where the young people voice is being heard, and you can listen and sit and talk with us to hear what we have to say.
Thank you so much.
Well, look, let me be frank with you, right? Let me be frank with you. I was a young man too. And that's an excellent strategy that you tried to use a while ago. I commend you. Excellent strategy. But I learned one lesson in my political career. Passion. And when you believe in something, you have to stand for it. And you have to speak with passion. And, you know, I'm sure Thomas knows that it was a very good back and forth response. And you made some points, Thomas, and I made some points. Exactly. And at the end of it, Thomas is going to sit there and say, "Hail, Prime Minister." And I'm going to say, "Hail, Thomas."
Yes. Yes. Come on now. Come on now.
That is just how debates go.
Yes.
And you know, when we are talking and our hands are gesticulating, as long as we remember to be respectful. That the personhood should not be violated, and that the opinions must be respected.
Absolutely.
Right? We agree?
Thank you so much, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, before I ask for the approval of the amendments. There are two clauses in the bill which seem to have given concern to the public, and which I am compelled to take the time to explain. Clause 20 deals with the enrollment of citizens and provides for the fine of $100,000 if one does not comply. Mr. Speaker, since my involvement in the bill, and the bill that was developed under my watch, we did not have in that bill a requirement for compulsory registration. We started off from a position that we would seek to get the public to comply by virtue of them seeing the benefits of the bill. It was in discussions with a select team from the opposition that the opposition insisted that it be mandatory. And Mr. Speaker, the hypocrisy that I have had to listen to. But you know, Mr. Speaker, my mother always tells me, hold your tongue. Hold your tongue. Because you know, Mr. Speaker, again the falsehood about this bill not having the benefit of public discourse. In 2000, the then government, which is the opposition now, took a bill to Parliament, carried it to a joint select committee, and in that bill, Mr. Speaker, they had a clause for it to be mandatory. And guess what the fine was? $100,000 at that time. Now, if you brought $100,000 and added interest to it, inflation and everything to bring it up to current dollars, it would be a significant amount of penalty. So it is very disingenuous for the opposition to now come and try to claim a ground that they themselves rejected. Mr. Speaker, all that any concerned Jamaican has to do is just go on the internet, or if you store newspapers, go back, and you will see that the opposition, the then government, supported the bill, said how necessary it was, no less a person than the former Prime Minister. The bill, the National Identification System, I did not bring that into the office of the Prime Minister. It was already in the office of the Prime Minister from the opposition. When you look at the reports from JIS and the statements of urgency and importance for the bill to be done, Mr. Speaker, it is disingenuous, because it was always the intention of that government there, now the opposition, to introduce and pass.
So the Prime Minister found a very political and creative way to respond to the demands of the young man who demanded for an apology, that he was also a young man like him. And as young men, we are exuded with youthful exuberance. And as a politician, you should always stand for whatever that you believe in. And as long as you remain in the confines of respecting the opinions and the views of the other person, it is good to go. Since you are not being disrespectful to the other person and the other person is not being disrespectful to you, it is a good way to go. And he was able to, in a way, defend what his actions were when he was speaking to the first person who asked the question. As I said early on, I would want you to be the judge in this situation. Let me know in the comment section below whether you think that the Prime Minister was wrong exhibiting his emotions in strong and harsh language, or the young man was also too demanding to ask a whole prime minister to apologize before an audience. Let me know what you think about these two sides in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just click the subscribe button down there. Click on the subscribe button. Click as well on the notification bell. And I'd like to see you again in my next video.